Good morning, 8th grade. I hope you're doing well today. Sorry for the late upload. I didn't turn on my alarm last night and slept in a little bit longer than I should have. Yesterday we reviewed the volume of cylinders. Today I want to talk about the surface area of cylinders. Now, the thing to know about cylinders is that they are based on a circle. And a circle is defined by its radius, the distance from the center to any point on the edge. So as we're talking about cylinders, I want to always try to put things in terms of the radius. What I mean by that is I want to create a formula where the only thing you need to know about the cylinder is the radius and the height. You don't need to worry about diameter or circumference or any of those other things. I want to come up with a formula where if you know the radius and you know how long the tube is between the two circles, you should be able to find your answer. So let's talk about how to do that with a cylinder. All right, so the first thing we need to do for surface area is we need to recognize that there are a top and an identical bottom circle, the two ends of the tube. So we need to take those into account when we are calculating our surface area. We want to find the area of those two circles. Think back, to when we studied just two-dimensional circles, and you'll remember that the formula for a circle, for the area of a circle, is pi times the radius squared. There's one thing that we're going to add to this formula, because this formula will only tell us the area of this single top circle. Remember, there's an identical circle on the bottom. There's two identical circles. So if we know the area of this circle, we also know the area of this circle that we can't see on the bottom. So we're going to take this area of the circle formula and we're going to multiply it by 2. So that'll give us the area of the top and the bottom of the cylinder, the two circles on either end of the tube. That's phase 1. We're going to keep that there, 2 pi r squared, and then we're going to add a plus sign. And what's going to go on the other side of that plus sign? Well, we need to know, to get the full surface area, we need to know the area of this central section, the tube that goes in between the two circular ends. If you think back to when we were in the classroom a few weeks ago, I showed you with one of my pull-apart models that this circular section in the middle, the lateral area or the tube, actually folds out to create a rectangle. Unfortunately, I can't really do that over a video like this, so I'm going to talk about how to find the surface area of this tube section in the middle a different way. And I want to make sure that we're talking about it in terms of the radius. Because as I said at the beginning, I want to find a formula where the only two pieces of information we need to know are the radius and the height or length. So let's talk about how we figure out the area of this tube section. Well, the first thing we're going to need to know is our circumference. I'm just going to write circ. We need to know how far around the outside this circle goes. Think back to our circle's unit. How do we find the circumference? Our circumference is our diameter multiplied by pi. But remember, we want to get a formula where we only need to know the radius. We don't want to have to worry about the diameter or the circumference. So how do we find the diameter? The diameter, d, is 2 multiplied by the radius. Because we take this radius, 19, and we add another radius on this side that's also 19, now we have a line that goes all the way across that is 38. 19 from this edge to the middle, and then another 19 from the middle to the other edge. The diameter is always equal to 2 radiuses, or radii. How can we use that in our formula? So we know that we want to do the circumference to find the surface area of the tube section. We find the circumference by doing pi multiplied by the diameter. But we know the diameter is the same thing as 2 times the radius. So because d is equal to 2r, we can replace this d with 2r. Okay, so now we've rewritten this. Circumference is equal to the radius multiplied by 2 multiplied by pi. What do we need that for? Because this second section of our formula, we're going to put 2 times the radius times pi. And notice I'm not putting multiplication dots in here because you don't strictly need those when you're working with multiplication in algebra. You can kind of smash all your things together. And then there's one more element we need. If we know the circumference of the circle, the last thing that we need to know, and we know the circumference of the circle based on the radius, we need to know how far this is, the length or the height. How far it is connecting the 2 circular ends. How big is the tube section? So we're going to call that height for now. So what we have here is a way to calculate how big the top circle and the unseen bottom circle are, and then how big this tube section that connects those 2 circles is. And then we just add them together. And the only thing we need to know in this formula is the radius, it shows up twice, and the height. So this is our standard formula for the surface area of a cylinder. Let's put it to work. Think about how Mr. Vigil deals with formulas. He asks you to write down the formula, then substitute in the information you know, and then do your calculation. So let's, on number 1, substitute in the information we know. We know we have 2 times pi. What's our radius? It's 19 from the center to the edge. So we're going to do times 19 squared. And I'm putting the multiplication dot in there just to make it easy to see. Plus 2 times our radius again. Our radius is 19. Times pi. Times our height. Our height, in this case, is 23. So now, and if you're putting this into a calculator, what I recommend you do is I'd recommend you put parentheses around this and parentheses around this. In fact, I'm going to do that in the actual formula up here so we're clear. Put parentheses around our first expression and parentheses around our second expression, and leave our plus sign there in the middle so we know which section has which information in it. So to find the surface area of this cylinder using this formula, we're going to do 2 times pi times 19 squared, because 19 is our radius, and then we're going to add 2 times our radius, 19, times pi times our height, 23. So let's put that all into the calculator. Parentheses, 2 times pi times 19 to the second power, close parentheses, plus, open parentheses, 2 times 19 times pi times 23, end parentheses. And what we're going to get, and this is going to be slightly different depending on which version of pi you use. If you use the pi button on a calculator or you round off to 3.14, what this is going to be is something close to 5,014, we're dealing with millimeters. Millimeters. Surface area is always to the second power. So the surface area of this cylinder is 5,014 millimeters squared. Okay, let's jump down to this example here. So our formula, I'm going to write it, and then we're going to substitute. We have 2 times pi times r squared, put that all in parentheses, plus 2 times radius times pi times height, or length, the distance between the two circles in the middle, this guy right here. On a side-facing cylinder, it would be this guy right here. That's what we mean by the h. Okay, now let's substitute. So, we know that we have 2 times pi times, what's our radius on this problem? Well, our diameter all the way across is 35. So we want to know what's the distance only from the center to the edge, halfway across. So what's 35 divided by 2? That's 17 and a half. 17.5 squared. All right, then let's add the second section. 2 times, we just found the radius over here, we're going to use it again. 17.5 times pi times our height or length, whatever you want to call it, the section that connects the two circles, the tube. Here it is. In this case, it is 14. All right, now we have everything we need. We just need to plug this into our calculator. Open parentheses, 2 times pi times 17.5 to the second power, close parentheses, plus, open parentheses, 2 times 17.5 times pi times 14, close parentheses. We have an approximate answer of 3,464. Again, we're dealing with millimeters. Surface area is always to the second power. So, this is our universal formula. Write it down. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r height. That will always get you the surface area. And all you need to know about the circle to make it work are 2 pieces of information. Your radius and the distance between the two circular bases. Your height or your length, whatever you want to call it. Stay safe, wash your hands, stay home as much as possible, and as always on the homework, do your best. I'll be doing office hours this afternoon from 1 to 2:30, and your assignment for the day is to do the 6 surface area problems on the same worksheet that you did volume yesterday.